Looks like we're live on Gun News Weekly. What's up, everybody? If you want to see the full show with Ross and I going back and forth, let me do that again. Now I'm definitely live. If you want to see the full show, me and Ross go back and forth, go over to Kevin the Tag Daddy channel. That's where the original show will be until I upload it tomorrow. Facebook, we're live. We're live there. Here we go, Ross. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Tomorrow night, I think when Hillary Clinton wins, that Donald Trump will have lost this election from the very first day he announced and took off after Mexicans.
Classic Trump. I think you have to view last night's debate as Donald Trump's concession speech. He realizes he can't win.
He had no chance, in my view, and the numbers are going to bear that out tomorrow.
Well, I can't find a single Republican who now thinks they're going to win.
You can't go into a general election with only 25% of the Republican base behind you and expect to win in a general. You just can't.
That's an awfully difficult lead to make up. It really is at this point, particularly when Trump's negatives remain in the 60s, which is just almost unprecedented.
We may lose by historic proportions.
So he knows he can't win. So why?
No. I think Donald Trump has fooled himself into looking at his crowds and the rallies and the size, and he thinks that's America.
He had no chance to win doing what he was doing, and with the Latino community feeling so targeted from the very first day he announced.
This guy isn't a Republican. He can't beat Hillary Clinton.
Ross, here we go, man. It's just a crazy night. It's a post-election edition of Gun News Weekly. Let's do it. Tonight we're talking post-election. What are we going to do now? Ross, real quick shout out to our sponsors tonight, L2Dcombat.com, Keyguard.us. But, shit, man, according to the Facebook post, it was about 2 years ago. I said, Ross, we're looking at things like where am I at? There we go. Stop. Well, I said, Ross, we're looking at nothing but clear signs that Hillary is going to be the next president. The CFR, the Bilderberg Group, again, Bohemian Grove came out. Bill came out on, I think it was an Oprah couch or something, and said finally she's going to run. And it was inevitable, and we knew that all of our AKs and our ARs and everything were in jeopardy. And, dude, the election's this week, and what do you think, bro?
I think our guns are going to be safe for a little while. That's what I think. At the least,
dude, I was so wrong. I was so wrong. I owe you dinner. I know that for sure. I might owe you some money somewhere, but I know I owe you at least dinner. I was so wrong with the.
Kevin, you had me believing. I will say that you had me believing that it had been decided years ago that this is the route it was going to be, and there's no way an outsider was going to make it. And man, all I can tell you is that a small bit of faith has been restored in humanity. We'll see. That's my honest opinion about the thing. We'll see.
It's been crazy. And then even as close as the Newsweek cover that got popped when that appeared to be possibly her winning, the whole thing 4 weeks ago when you were here, and the stuff came out from the tour bus with Billy Bush, the famous.
I told you it wasn't going to matter.
The famous line. You did. Okay, there's the other one. I had to give you props, and I was like, dude, that's going to be the difference maker, because every woman is going to look at that and say, I can't be associated with this. And I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you.
What made my prediction better than everybody else's prediction, at least the mainstream media's prediction, was who goes to a political rally in the first place, and to see numbers like 30,000 people coming, overflowing capacity where he goes. I mean, come on, man, you got to be flipping blind not to see that the country was behind it.
that is what his pundits were just saying. All the pollsters were wrong. All of the media channels were wrong. Everybody that was worried about guns and went out and bought an overpriced lower. I feel bad for those people. Go build a gun. Have fun with that. But you did that. I think there's just a huge sigh of relief, Ross. But basically, even with the voter fraud stories that came out day before, somehow he won.
It shocked me. I was in disbelief until Pennsylvania went, and then I was like, oh, wow. And then it hit me like, I mean, he's going to be president. That's awesome. I hope he sticks to his guns. And to boot, I know this is not a political show, but man, the Republicans got everything. They got handed everything. It's time to make a move. Not handed.
I get my ultimate take on the whole thing is as follows. It was two bad choices, and people, just like 8 years ago when Hope and Change was brought as a potential thing. Hope and change. Guy you never heard of before. Guy who had very little experience, but guy that really could talk well, really got it round up, really had this is what they used to call a grassroots, boots on the ground endeavor. This guy did it using today's technology. And when a lot of people went to the polls, they said she's old school, she's dirty. He's been calling her crook. I mean, again, he did a lot of things. Crook. He gave everybody a nickname and systematically knocked them down, because in everyone's head, it's not Hillary Clinton on the ballot, Ross. To a lot of people that were crooked popped in there. It just showed up right when they were thinking about it. And so you had a lot of people, in my opinion, that said, you know what, I'd rather go for the guy that could possibly change something and make my life better, because I don't see her doing it. And you add in the email, and you add in that's my opinion of it. All the race stuff that's going on right now, we're going to get into a bunch of the stories. What is the result of this election when it comes to gun rights, when it comes to America, when it comes to the thoughts about these things? That's really what we're going to focus on tonight. And it is somewhat political, Ross. So it is. We're not going to go where we went last week in our little rant show, but at the same time, there are some things to talk about. So let's see. Gun groups. Trump's win proves that gun control is a losing issue. When they say gun groups, they're talking about the NRA, and this is on guns.com, who spent $30 million on this election. They are one of the few well-known organizations that actually endorsed Trump when you think about it.
One of the only. Yeah.
And basically you had a couple quotes from the NRA afterwards, so we'll talk about those. One was, let's see. This is Chris Cox, the director of the NRA's lobbying arm. Trump's victory, quote, Trump's victory repudiates the assertion by gun control advocates that the political calculus regarding the Second Amendment has changed. I don't know why he has to use 4 or 5 12th grade vocabulary words in one sentence, but he does.
He's trying to impress you.
Yeah, he is, with calculus.
Yes.
That's the only time I've heard calculus used this year, that's for sure. Quote, voters sent a loud and clear message that our gun rights are not for sale. NRA members and Second Amendment supporters rallied to elect a pro-gun president. So he's basically saying, we were a part of it, we put some money into it, therefore the victory is because of the people that support us. The American people have spoken. We elected a president who has pledged to protect our constitutional rights and a majority of both houses of Congress that will work to ensure that our individual right to keep and bear arms will be preserved. I'm going to get into what all the different things that could possibly happen are in just a minute. Well, in a couple minutes.
He could not have gotten into office without the Second Amendment, his Second Amendment position. He could not have done it. We talked last week about the number of guns that are actually out there versus the 300 million that you've heard for the last 10 years. Those are real people buying those guns. You know what I mean? He would not have been able to make it without the Second Amendment.
Well, I also want to point out that the people that are anti-Second Amendment are energized by this whole loss. A couple of quotes, right? A couple of quotes. One from Julia Wyman, executive director for States United to Prevent Gun Violence, in an email statement to guns.com. She said, quote, we are stunned, disappointed, heartbroken over the national elections, but make no mistake about it, we are in no way deterred from our goals.
Sure. They're just going to put it on hold for 4 years. They're not short-term people. They're long-term goal setters.
Every Town for Gun Safety said last night was tough, but we are tougher. And we must be because even in the darkness, there are points of light. So this is darkness all of a sudden, Ross.
Oh gosh, we're going to get into a lot of darkness. You know what I mean? It seems like 49% of the country thinks it's doom and gloom, and bad times are coming.
There was some success in their mind. There was ballot initiatives for gun control measures in Nevada, Washington, California that all passed.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get specific on those next week as we get some.
California.
We're gonna try to bring some. We'll talk about the format later. Dan Gross, president of the Brady campaign, also expressed disappointment with the results, saying the group is, quote, disappointed that a candidate who ran his campaign on a message of hate, violence, intimidation, and fear will be the next president of the United States.
Yeah, I don't remember that in the campaign personally. I really don't remember the hate or the.
I told
Nazi
you this earlier. He said some
shitty
stuff that people who take offense to things have taken strong offense to. And he said some point blank shitty things. He just did. So it is what it is. All right.
Yeah, so whatever.
All right.
Whatever.
So we'll talk about a couple. Well, let me jump ahead here. Actually, I'll go in line that I had. So last night, protests have broke out. Right now, protests have broke out. Not my president. Flooding the streets all over the place, different places. There's been a little bit of violence here and there. We put the title of the show 5 Shot at a Trump protest, and that's dishonest. That wasn't accurate, because as we were researching that story, it turns out that truly it was just about a gunman who shot 5 people very close. It was about a block away, it sounds like. It was an argument outside of a convenience store around 7 o'clock, right when these things were starting. The gunman walked away from the group, turned, fired at them before fleeing on foot. And long story short, 5 people were shot, 2 were very serious. There is an adult male. They don't have a lot of details, and I think he probably just disappeared into the night, Ross, because there was a lot of people gathered, and by the time he got 2 blocks down the road and had his gun back wherever he had to hide it or ditched it, you can disappear pretty quickly in a situation like that.
Big crowds are going to make it easy for anybody wanting to do nefarious things to hide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see if that. And the protests have been sizable protests.
Yep. And they were there within 60 seconds. So the guy shot and ran. I mean, he jetted. He took off quick.
Yeah. It's just your gun crime in a tightly controlled democratic city.
What happened to the 5 things? Hold on one second, Ross. I thought I had. There it is. Okay. So let's talk about the protesters real quick, and let's talk about some of the other, I mean, because it's fun. I want to quit life. Hollywood devastated after the Trump win. And the interesting one that's on here, gosh, is they always do that. These are some of the quotes that are coming from Hollywood stars, which again, don't get me started, but Katy Perry tweeted in all caps, "The revolution is coming." Now, wasn't it supposed to be the white patriots and the veterans and all of those types of things that were the problem? Wasn't that the going narrative for a long time, Ross, that was the problem and that was who was going to start the revolution? They talk about Brexit. They talk about California seceding from the United States. Alyssa Milano, is it possible that this country is more sexist than racist? May God help us all.
I don't get that either. The guy says something 10 years ago, and all of a sudden his entire campaign is sexist and misogynist. I honestly, I'd never heard that until he won, that all of a sudden anybody who voted for him was sexist, racist, misogynistic. There's a whole list, and you get the whole list when you get that from somebody.
Ross, all of a sudden, because I'm Kevin the gun guy, I am again, must be a Trump guy, must be a big time Trump guy, must be real happy about this whole thing, and definitely
you should be ashamed to have daughters.
I should be ashamed to have daughters because I'm sexist, and then also I'm racist by some of my black friends that are from high school and things like that that I've watched, that basically they said if you're not heartbroken by this and you don't think that a woman should have beat this jerk into the office, then you're part of the problem. Like that's the bucket I'm in.
What kind of mentality does that to their friends. Dude, if I'm your friend, you know I'm not a racist person. You know I'm not a sexist. Have I said some stupid shit? Sure. I said a lot of stupid shit. But you know me if I'm your friend.
Right.
How can you say because I voted for a guy because I'm a Second Amendment supporter, because I believe in free speech, because I don't believe in other things? How can you say that I now fall into that bucket? Who came up with that? Because I haven't heard that.
Well,
Until I started listening to the mainstream media.
The media,
And then
the media is on fire. The media is on fire, stirring that shit and going and getting very flammable firewood and adding it to the mix, Ross. It's crazy right now.
The media is absolutely unbelievable, Kevin. I didn't know how bad, because like I said before, we dropped cable a while ago, almost a year ago. So I don't really get into the mainstream media, but boy, I watched the election coverage and I was absolutely floored. I had heard that they were in the tank, but I thought there'd be some semblance of like pride or something, like work pride, to like some semblance of an unbiased approach.
They've put
There's
out
nothing,
into the
dude.
universe. They put out into the universe, especially internationally, that the majority of America is devastated. That the middle of the country, the flyover states, the people with that, again, white America, that's what they're saying, is the reason that this happened. And
Dude, I got all kinds of neighbors that aren't white.
it's crazy.
It's absolutely nuts, dude. And you know what? Colorado is a Democratic state. We voted for Hillary, apparently.
Oh, and hey, the county I live in, Ross, go look when they were talking about Miami-Dade and then Broward County and then Palm Beach County and that little blue section of Florida. That's where I'm at. Orlando. That's where my friends are at that are definitely pro-gun. It is what it is.
I totally blame the media. The media has polluted these young kids' minds, the millennials' minds, and you brought it up on a meme today in Facebook. These are the kids that got a trophy for just participate.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The protesters right now, you brought this up. They really don't know anything other than Obama over last year. So kids that are 18 to 25 right now, when you think about that age group, they were take -8, so 10 to 18. Does that make sense? So they've grown up with this Obama administration. And now all of a sudden, this who's been portrayed as the bad guy that's going to take away their rights. How funny is the irony that all we were worried about when Obama got in was he was going to take away our gun rights. Now, they definitely chipped at some. There's some AK stuff. There's some import stuff that they got through. There's all that stuff in California they got through. But we thought it was going to be devastating. We definitely thought it was going to be devastating if she got in, right?
Oh yeah.
So we
absolutely.
were worried left and right that we were going to have to stand up for our rights. Now these people the people who feel like they've lost this election because they were so for Hillary and the concept of her winning, that they feel like their rights are going to be violated left, right, and center by this nasty old white guy who's got all the power and the money, et cetera, et cetera. So
you know what I want to know? We're listening to whatever you had on the television earlier. I want to know when President Obama's going to address these guys. You know what I mean? The protesters. They're already calling for Trump to somehow talk to these guys and tell them that everything's going to be okay. Where's our president right now doing that?
Well, they got together today, and all indications were that the meeting that between the two of them was good. Now, you mentioned there's now a Republican Congress, Senate, correct? House, all that stuff, and our president who would have the veto power, right?
Yep.
So
they're scared.
Let's talk for a while.
Scared.
Well, forget scared. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about gun rights, because that's the show.
Yeah.
That's Gun News Weekly, and that's what we talk about. And we talked about the media there for a second, Ross. Quick update: we're the media too. We're the internet media. That's what we do. And
understood.
Our
but
job. No, we don't have producers in our ears. Let's remember 2 or 3 things. We don't have to go to a short break because we don't want to talk about that topic. We don't have a producer in our ear telling us to change the topic. You and I have conversations. Our guests, our co-hosts, everybody that's been a part of this thing since day one. Almost 4 years, by the way, Ross.
Wow.
Here we are. That's what this is. It's us talking about what we think about what's going on in the world. So anyway, I'll start with an article over on Controversial Times, but it's been vetted in a couple other places too, because he was talking about it. Trump says concealed carry is a right, not a privilege. Time for national reciprocity legislation. we're going to talk about 4 or 5 different things, actually about 8 different things total that we believe should be. And when I saw this map, Ross, it kind of went brought it home for me. Oops, hit the wrong one. There we go. They've got that Ohio permit, and maybe someone in the chat or someone watching on Facebook or over on Gun News gun channels can chime in with us to tell us why that Ohio permit is so powerful that it's accepted in so many other places. But you know, you can go to SHOT Show, and if you have that Ohio license, Ross, you're good to go in Vegas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I wonder what makes Ohio so special.
I'm not too sure. But basically, in every state in the union, and it has their own policies, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, this is the big thing, is they feel like if you get a license in the state that you live in, it should be like a driver's license. You shouldn't have to have a different license for the next state that you drive into. And it has a lot to do with people who travel and their ability to protect themselves. So I'm all for that one. I hope he gets it through. And again, he has said in the past that he thinks that concealed carry is a right, not a privilege.
I've heard him speak of constitutional carry even.
Which would be what? Just anyone can carry anything anytime, both concealed or open carry?
Shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed was his latest.
Open carry too, Ross? How does that go? You can open carry?
Yeah. Shall not be infringed. It can't tell you when to carry, how to carry, who to carry. If you want to carry a gun, you carry a gun.
All right. Now the second one is the one that I'm hearing a lot of talking on the internet already. Is this the Hearing Protection Act? The Hearing Protection Act was introduced last October in Arizona by Rep. Matt Salmon. Currently has 78 bipartisan co-sponsors from 34 states. It's been among the top 10 most viewed bills on Congress.gov and almost every week since it was introduced. However, with a slim Republican majority in the Senate unable to override the near certain veto from President Obama, the bill has been in doldrums. Now,
that changes everything.
So, and now imagine for a second we lived in a world where you had to pay $200 tax to buy a pair of earplugs. Said Knox Williams, president of the American Suppressor Association, the industry trade group for the devices. So let's get one thing out on the table. These groups that are behind the suppressor stuff and the companies who make suppressors are going to push like crazy for this, or happy about this, or are going to be 100% behind this, and encourage everyone to get behind this, because I'm already seeing some of that.
Can't wait till they take the stamps off suppressors. I can't wait. I mean, seriously, man, I would love to be able to shoot without a hearing protection on.
It's legal. Again, it's legal in 42 states, but you got to go through the process of getting it obviously approved, paying the tax, waiting for the approval, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, and in the right climate, that gets sluggish. 9 months, a year.
Yep, there you go. There you go. It would be nice to be able to walk into a store, and if you had the money and you were buying a weapon and you decided you wanted to have a suppressor on it so that if shit happens down your stairs and you had to grab your gun and go protect your family, you wouldn't mess up everybody's ears. Makes sense to me. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
This one's from Bearing Arms, Fast Five. So we've already covered a couple of these. The other ones that they think are the gun reforms that they think President Trump will sign into law sooner than later. And it's more of a hopeful thing than this is definite, but we'll go with it. Ending gun-free zones on military bases. Makes perfect sense. These kids come in, They get the right training, they're given $1 million vehicles to drive, they're given weapons to use. They should be able to defend themselves. And I think that would probably discourage some of the sexual assault that goes on. I could be wrong there. I don't really know the culture, Ross, but it just kind of tells me that guys that know that girls not only have the training, but have the tool to take them out should they be violated in that fashion.
Well, and quite frankly, I mean, the guy who does come on a base with a gun is not going to care that the base is a gun-free zone. He's not going to care. So he's got ample targets. I don't know why he would do that to people in any situation, because the guy who's coming in there with a gun to do damage doesn't care if it's a gun-free zone or not. He's going to bring it in regardless. Why would you just have
We've talked about
A
that a few
barrel of
times.
sitting ducks is what it is.
Yeah. And our nation's military, who we're going to be talking about quite a bit at the end of the show tonight.
Yeah.
My kids are off tomorrow. I think everybody's kids
Wow,
are
I
off
got
tomorrow,
one
aren't
off.
they?
Now I got one off.
Oh, okay. All right. The other two that we just talked about, legalizing silencers / suppressors. Concealed carry reciprocity, legalizing the silencers. Nick's background check reform. Gun control supporters wanted a universal background checks on all gun purchases in order to create a de facto gun registry. That's not just not going to happen. They said that President Trump, the House, the Senate are going to work on legislation to close the gaping holes in the existing background check system so that it's more effective, ensuring better and more accurate updating of prohibited people / persons. This will likely run in conjunction with mental health reform to both help people in crisis obtain the help they need and ensure that fears of losing their Second Amendment rights won't keep people from seeking help for a temporary but important mental health crisis. That makes sense.
It does, but the mental health thing is such a sketchy thing to try to manipulate, because people who are crazy, who do things like that, probably aren't looking for the help. You know what I mean? So you tie that mental health thing to it, and you're really giving somebody somewhere at some time an avenue to just tell you that everybody who owns a gun's crazy, so we should take them all away from it. You know what I mean?
Yep. The last one is allow the importation of collectible historical firearms. You know, Obama stymied the importation of historically significant firearms provided to allies after the Second World War and the Korean War through executive orders. If you remember that whole thing where he wiped that out, we talked about it earlier in the show. The Collectible Firearms Protection Act will allow the reimportation of hundreds of thousands of M1 Garands, M1 carbines, and M1911 pistols. I think that'll also open up back to all the AK issues that they had. Something that they need to do.
Yeah, that really is a loophole that they took in executive action there to ban those things.
Yep.
So to give them back would be the right thing to do. Hopefully Trump really puts forth an effort on the Second Amendment. I mean, we've taken many, many years of abuse on that and reinterpretations of the Second Amendment and everybody being loose with it. It's about time that we take it for its wording, right? Shall not be infringed.
Yep. The other three are silly, so we're not going to talk about those.
And what about SBRs? I heard in the one we were talking about before they.
Oh, here we go. Here's the other
making the SBRs.
Sorry, here's the other three. I'm sorry, I had some other weird thing pop in. One I did not catch up on. I don't know about the Hughes Amendment. Repeal the Hughes Amendment. That's the 86 Firearms
Somebody
Protection
dropped
Act.
a poison pill in
You got
the
it.
Freedom Firearms Act,
You got it.
Firearm Owners Protection Act, that was
Machine guns.
It slipped through, and then they Trojan horsed it basically.
You got it. So they want to get rid of that. Remove short barrel rifles, any other weapons from the National Firearms Act. It shouldn't
that
matter
would
the
make me
size of
happy.
what your boomstick looks like. And this is what I wanted to share with you earlier, Ross, because this does show the just the idiocracy of it, if that's still a word. So the top one, it's a pistol, it's legal. The top one, you put on the Magpul angled foregrip, you're still good, it's a pistol. You add the bipod, still a pistol. You add the vertical foregrip, now it's an AOW on any other weapon, because now you have a foregrip. You add a full stock to the back of it. That's all you did to that, and now it's an SBR because you can shoulder it.
It's ridiculous, man. I mean, if you really think about it,
It's nuts.
it's ridiculous.
It makes no sense.
It's a layer of government that doesn't need to be there.
Makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
So that would be one that they would want to get rid of. And I agree with that one. So it's the sporting. Oh, and then the sporting purpose clause from the federal gun control. They want to get rid of that. So green tip ammunition.
Yeah, all the ammo restrictions, and also magazines. They're talking magazines as well. Getting rid of the magazine limitations, which would be great because we're limited to 15 unless it's grandfathered or a parts kit.
What does it say? They upheld a ban on military surplus 5.45 39 7N6 for AK-74 style rifles based on the sporting purpose clause last year. because of the absurd law, a Glock 19 and 9 is legal almost everywhere in the nation except in certain backward slave states. But a Glock 25, a gun from the same manufacturer with the same exact specs by the slightly less powerful 380 ACP, is still heavily restricted. Okay.
It's stupid.
Yeah, some of
They
those,
tried to say that it was armor piercing. And
now here's something that's interesting. Gun and ammo stocks dropped now that Trump got in. Would they have
man,
skyrocketed?
Obama was the best. Obama was the best gun salesman in the history of guns.
That's what they say. All right. The other thing that happened, we did have a coked up gunman that got killed after he ambushed some police near a California voting site. Did you hear about this?
I did hear something about that.
He opened fire, killing one man and critically injuring 2 women. Our hearts go out to those families. That's gotta suck. You go to vote, and all of a sudden there's a gunman that's going crazy, prompting the closings of 2 polling and 2 polling places got shut down.
How do you predict stuff? I mean, how do you stop things like that? You can't possibly stop something like that.
They say
People with malice, right?
High on cocaine.
Yeah. But not everybody that does cocaine is going to shoot a place up, right? I mean, that'd be the argument for that one. How do you predict that? How do you know that he was mentally unstable before he did what he did?
Well, I don't know, but here's some details that are coming in. The coked up killer is said to have been a military veteran. Said to have been. Take that with a grain of salt. Wearing black combat gear, whatever that means, and armed with several handguns and a quote assault rifle. He shot about 20 rounds at officers before he was killed, but injured none of them. Although they think that it wasn't related to the election, but it was just happened again near polling stations, and that's why they had to shut him down.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Crazy.
You want to talk about this Pennsylvania ambush shooting real quick?
Yeah, you're talking about the one officer that died. One officer was wounded on Thursday morning, 20 miles southwest of Pittsburgh. It sounds like there was a domestic dispute. The man had killed, I believe she was pregnant. It doesn't say if she was his wife or girlfriend or what, just as a pregnant woman, and then turned the gun on himself after he ambushed these 2 cops. So why in the world he went after these 2 cops before he did what he did to himself is unknown, but he felt he had to kill one officer and wound another before he did it.
Nuts.
Yeah, dude, I don't understand what drives people to do things like that. I just wish they wouldn't do it with guns, you know?
Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah.
If the gun wasn't dragged into it. All right.
I don't know.
Let's reset real quick, Ross.
Feel bad for those cops, man. They're out there literally grinding away day in and day out, keeping everybody safe. And people are attacking those guys like they're targets these days. At least that's the way it appears. Let me throw that out there.
Yep. Let's reset. Let's reset. We're after 1:30. Thanks for everybody for tuning in on Kevin the Tag Daddy channel, on Gun News Weekly channel, and over on Facebook. Also over on Gun Channels. Ross, we'll have to talk about the chat, see if anyone's got anything interesting. Make sure you're taking a look at that. As we take a break halfway through, a little bit after halfway through, make sure you check out TagDaddy.com. And we'll be talking about supportraven23.com after towards the end of the show, talking about our veteran site of the week to talk about. But also make sure you check out the patches up there. It's out of screen. Mission 22. Let's not forget, there's still a lot of people doing push-ups still, Ross. A lot of people doing the challenge and things like that. I had an epiphany. It's time we do something again to raise some more awareness. Stay tuned.
All right. I love these things, dude. I love it when I can get involved in
this one.
We've raised money. We've done all kinds of stuff for veterans, and
I think we can do it again. I think we can do that again. But so make sure you go check out again supportraven23.com. We'll be talking about that. It's an incredible story, and already there's some momentum, some hashtagging, and that kind of thing going on. And we think that we might be able to get the new president's ear on this, Ross. So very cool.
All right.
And all right, so the other story that's local to me, getting back on track. And actually, I'm gonna check out on Facebook right now because that's a good thing to check out about half past. Shout out to everybody that jumped in. It looks like Big was in saying some things. What's up, Paul Brandon Wood? What's up to Brad, Jay, a bunch of the other people that were over on Facebook. Thanks for watching there, but we're gonna check out there now. Make sure you go over to the Gun News Weekly channel on YouTube, and we'll see you there later. This is going to make noise in 1 second. We'll get it off.
Is that the Facebook feed?
Yep.
Yep.
So there we go. Turn that off. All right. So guns.com, Ross. 25 arrested in Florida drug and gun trafficking ring.
I saw that too, man. How close was that to you? Down in Miami?
Broward County.
Yeah.
So basically, I'll read the story to you. Agents of the ATF and explosives descended on the Pompano Beach house in pre-dawn hours, the culmination of a 2-year undercover investigation into a gun and drug trafficking operation run by 2 local gangs, wait for it, Doom City and the Cypress Boys, according to the Miami Herald.
Okay.
Don't mess with Doom City or Cypress Boys.
That's our government doing what it should be doing.
Now,
taking illegal guns and drugs off the streets.
4 suspects are still at large, but the other 25 are described as felons with a collective record of more than 400 arrests and 70 convictions.
Wow. Did they say if they were going to be pardoned? But no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
The
go there.
streets are safer, and the good people of Pompano Beach can sleep a little easier knowing that these drug dealers and firearms traffickers are off the streets, said Carlos Gonzalez, public information officer of the ATF Miami Field Division, in a statement Wednesday. Their days of dealing drugs and selling firearms, perpetuating violence in our community are over.
Except those 4.
They said they worked extensively to bring down the trafficking operation and got a lot of help from the DEA and the U.S. Marshal Service. Perfect example how they can all work together, of course. Let's see. Federal charges against 29 defendants in 23 separate cases for the alleged participation in trafficking conspiracy. Undercover agents bought a total of, are you ready, 285 firearms from the defendants over the course of the 2-year investigation.
Wow. How many do you have to get to know that they're dealing in stolen firearms?
Apparently over 10 a month for 2 years solid, Ross. Over 10 a month for 2 years solid.
Is there a magic number where you get like the golden felony or something? I mean, what the hell?
It included AR-15s, AK-47s, pistols, revolvers, and a short-barreled rifle, and a, quote, police sniper rifle.
Huh.
In addition, the defendants also sold them heroin, cocaine, marijuana, and oxycodone. Through diligent efforts, to a dozen dangerous suspects. We'll never know how many crimes we prevented with these arrests, but our residents and visitors are safer with these criminals on the street. Hey, I give them kudos, but at the same time, they need to catch those 4 dudes.
Yeah, those 4 might be worth going after, but you know that's pretty good for our government, man. 4 got away out of 25 or what, 29?
Yeah,
that's pretty good. That's pretty good, and you know it's good to see our government doing that's what we got them out there doing. Up, guys.
I'm glad they did. All right, so
yeah, me too.
Let's do question of the week. We didn't get to it last week because of craziness. So let's do that one now. Thanks to Schwell, and shout out to Schwell. Here we go.
Good evening, guys. Schwell here with another video update. This is another question of the week. It's been a few weeks since I've done a question of the week video. We had Big 3, Hurricane Matthew, a procedure. We had a lot of stuff going on. I'm still recovering from the procedure. A little sore, but I'm getting better. And hopefully you guys can see that as I keep putting out these videos. Well, the question of the week, this question was inspired by Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. He posted up a video about the instructors and who you take instruction from. Well, my question to you, the public, the average gun owner, when you're going to take a class, be it the entry-level safety course, a CCW course, any kind of course, something like a tactical response course from James Yeager or Rob Pincus or any of the big name instructors out there. Do you vet your instructors? Do you check their credentials? Does it matter to you? When you're out looking for these classes, you're spending money on ammunition, you're spending money on equipment and gear, you're also spending money for the class, hotels, food, travel, you name it, you're spending money on it, unless it's local. And it would have to be like right next door for you not to incur any extra cost. Do you look into the background of that instructor? Does their military background matter? Law enforcement background? Private investigator, contractor? Does that stuff really matter? Does it matter to you if they were a door kicker in Iraq or Afghanistan? What their experience level is and how that experience translates to being an instructor or being able to convey that information to you. Do you guys put any thought into that? Is it extremely important? Go ahead and leave a comment. We'll discuss it. And hopefully the guys on Gun News Weekly tonight will have time to talk about it tonight as well. I think it's a very important topic, and that's why it's the question of the week brought to you by Gun News Weekly. This is Schwab. I hope you're all out there having fun, being safe, and also being responsible. And I'll hit you with the 2 fingers. Later.
Just pondering what it must be like to be the tag team. Thanks, Swell. All right, Ross, what do you think, bro?
You know, the number one most important thing to me is how many patches they have on their patch board. That's how I rate my instructors.
I tell you, my answer's simple. Yeah, to a degree. Not CIA investigation, but any training that we've done, I've definitely done a little bit of digging. And that would have to do with when we went to tactical response. I think that Jaeger puts his resume right on the website there.
He does.
All the
I researched him very hard.
So all the different stuff that he's taken is all listed there. That's a pretty impressive list. The stuff I did with Florida Firearms Training back in the day, I looked into the background of those trainers. Some of the other private people that I've worked with, I definitely dug a little to see what their background was. At the same time, there's guys that I just know and trust that they have been there, done that, and that what they're telling me is more than I would ever experience myself chasing instructors.
Well, and the other thing that you got to remember is while like your instructor might be the head of the company or might be the main instructor, you may only get limited instruction from him and then instruction from other guys on his team. I think everybody's experienced that. Like, you might get a lecture or you might get some limited range time or whatnot, but there's always other team members that you're working with. So it's really important to not just research, Rob or whatever,
right.
You research the team, you research, the IE team or whatever, you know what I mean?
There's a lot of names that are behind bigger entities, like you're saying, and a lot of times they're involved, but they may or may not be on site or at that particular in course or whatever it may be. So that's an important thing to ask. You definitely, if you see someone on YouTube and you're like, wow, I need to go see the other person that was mentioned, Aaron Count. I need to go see Aaron Count at Sage Dynamics. You better make sure that Aaron's going to be teaching your class if that's what you're worried about. And actually, I sat in on one of his classes one time. He's a smart dude. He knows his stuff. It's controversial. I think he likes to be. But and some people.
Yeah, but the fact is
some people completely disagree with him. So I've seen him and Rob go back and forth. I know personal friends that have gotten that look at the stuff that certain people say in the YouTube world. I know some guys that look at the YouTube world and think that anybody that's even instructing in that world is, not legit to some degree. It's all personal preference. When it comes to
it is
simple advice, I think that Schwell would agree, is do some research.
It's not hard in today's day and age. We got the internet,
Makes sense. So
yeah,
thanks again. Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you check out Schwell 11's channel, subscribe, check out Big 3 East and all the things that he's into. And the GearLocker.net was also who's helping out with some of the stuff he's doing these days. And Death Valley. Check out Death Valley over on VALI over on Instagram and YouTube as well. All right. One video. Here's one, Ross, that, again, you do training and you carry on a daily basis and you're not a victim. And this is proof of one of those situations. It's black and white, but it's pretty clear as to what happens here. Why is that lighting up for me? I don't want those. Go away, emojis. All right, you ready? Bang. Turns and shoots. So I guess he felt like the three guys that were definitely messing with him to the point that he knew they had guns. Or
the guy on the outside has a gun. He's got it in his hand. He's got it
he
pointed
just took
at
his
him.
wallet too, right at the beginning. He takes his wallet. Watch.
His wallet and his car keys. He's going to take his truck from him.
He gives it to him. He protects
Yeah, and that's
himself.
when he's okay. I'll take you to the truck here.
Clear one-hand draw. He wasn't too clear about pulling up the shirt out of the way, like I've been trained to, but he was effective.
Talk about shit in your pants, dude.
Now,
you know what I mean? Like you're in the situation.
Yeah, the chasing down part, Ross, I'm not too clear on. If that's a smart move to go running after them and getting away from cover.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I don't
you
think
quarterback it all
anybody's
day. You can quarterback it all day, but there's a clear example of someone that was just doing their thing, getting gas or whatever it may be at the convenience store, and had to take care of business.
The fact of the matter is that's a textbook, pretty much a textbook situation that you may be in at some point, where you hop out of your car and you're up against two armed guys that want your wallet and your keys and your truck.
Hey.
And then they probably want to kill you to keep it. You know what I mean?
You know, I'm going to go on a private rant later. I'll talk about it. Yes, you're right. You're right. Hold on one second. I'm just making a quick note. Sometimes they come to me while we're talking, Ross, or you plant a lot of seeds. All right, so here's an interesting one. Brownells, huge company online. We know about that. But basically, now you can buy guns from Brownells online. Huge distributor of outdoor gear and accessories. Now you can buy everything online, including Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, Winchester, Remington, SIG, Danny Defense, and many more. Pete Brownell said, quote, "We've been a gun company from the beginning. For 77 years, we've serviced all corners of the firearms market, new shooters to gunsmiths. This is one example of many upcoming programs we'll be launching to serve every portion of the gun industry." So I guess, you could always buy them at stores. Do they have stores?
Yeah, let me ask you this. So you still have to go through your FFL. They're not acting as
Correct.
the FFL.
They have a firearms tab at the top of the brownells.com.
Yeah.
And then you go there, and then I'm sure that it would be straight to your ordering straight.
That's awesome. Good deals.
Pick your firearm online, add your firearm to your cart, select your dealer location, pick up the gun at the dealer.
There you go.
Pretty simple. That's how it works when you buy a gun online. There is no loophole. I had to explain to Mom that time that they just don't show up at the house.
Oh, it's so ridiculous. It's just the same pushing of the falsehood we saw, like we showed at the beginning of this show. The pushing of the falsehood that there's no way that someone could win. There's no way. Oh, well, guess what? Wrong. This is the same thing. There's no loophole. There's no way to pick up a gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a false statement. Everybody knows it. Stop talking about it.
Yep. All right, home stretch. Duck Commander reunites with Benelli.
Heard that too. That's good. They'll make some money off that.
Their initial partnership in 2006 spurred a hunting show that would lay the groundwork for the popular Duck Dynasty series, but the relationship would end in 2013 when the Robertsons struck a deal with Mossberg. If you remember those Mossberg shotguns at SHOT Show that year. I
do. I remember going to Walmart and seeing them on the counters with red, white, and blue bandanas all over them.
Then they suspended the channel for a minute, or their show for a minute, when Phil Robertson for disparaging remark about homosexuals. The show since resumed and will be in season 11 in mid-November.
Wow. He's a good businessman. You know what I mean? I like his show.
Here's an interesting story about guns. Smith & Wesson's changing its name to American Outdoor Brands Corporation. Officially. CEO James Debney said, quote, "By executing on our strategy to be a leader in the shooting, hunting, and rugged outdoor enthusiast markets, We have successfully grown from a single operation division to 4 operating divisions that serve a large addressable market and represent more than 18 respective consumer brands.
Yeah, they just put an umbrella over their brands.
They just scooped up, what is it, Schrade or whatever that company was, the knife company. They do a bunch of other things, obviously, with, let's see, here you go, Smith & Wesson, M&P, Thompson Center Arms, Crimson Trace, Caldwell Shooting Supplies, Wheeler Engineering, Tipton Gun Cleaning, Reloading Tools from Frankfurt Arsenal, Lockdown Vault Accessories, Hooey Man, Premium Tree Saws, Hooey Man, Bog Pod, someone get back to me on that one, Golden Rod Moisture Control, Schrade, yeah, Bog Pod and Golden Rod Moisture Control are owned by Old Timer, Uncle Henry, and Imperial. But yeah, Schrade,
Wow.
Schrade. I called it Schrade, but it's Schrade.
Yeah, they just built an umbrella company to hold all those companies underneath it. It's pretty cool.
You got
It's good to see they're growing. Of course, with the amount of money that over the last 8 years that has been spent on firearms, for companies not to have grown during this period of unbelievable gun fright would be crazy, right? I mean, they're making money hand over fist.
Yep. So that's the end of our stories, Ross. I've got one more that kind of ties into personal story from this week. So crazy week this week. Shout out to my daughter. Happy sweet 16. She turned 16. I stole her from school and went and had sushi. And we had some good talk. The next day I got to wake up and I had already voted early here in Florida. And so it was voting day. So I figured I'd take the other one who always wants to go to the range. And we went to the range and had a fantastic time. We shot all kinds of stuff. Had our little 22 challenge like we used to with the Savage Cub, Ross, or pink one.
I saw that. That gun looks like a little pea shooter when you got it.
Dude, that thing is, if you said to me, you got to nail something at 50 yards and you got to know where that hole's go. Man, that thing is accurate as shit. That thing's great. We shot the Ruger 1022. We shot the Jack, which she absolutely loved. And she absolutely, when I turned this on and she looked through it for the first time, her eyes lit up, as does the reticle. Excuse me. This is the Black Spider Optics reticle. I mean, Black Spider Optics 1x4. And it features an illuminated reticle. Excuse me. And
I like all the features.
I'll be dropping a video on it. I'll be dropping a video on it tomorrow. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
Then we took it and put it on the Tavor. And she shot the Tavor for the first time, which was leading me to this last story. See, I told you there was purpose. This thing. The Dex. This will be something that people will be looking at SHOT. It's kind of
I saw this.
It's kind of a combination of the two, Ross.
It is. I like it. I think it's a cool, but I'll bet you it weighs a ton.
Who knows?
It looks heavy.
Let's see.
But now does that put you into the fixed stock range? It does. So it makes it compliant in those communist states that haven't totally outlawed them.
I guess so.
Yeah, like I think New York.
That's a pretty clean.
New York,
that's a pretty clean finish, like there. Look at that. I mean,
it's sharp looking, dude. They're very futuristic, and I like if you look at the detail on the handle. I like the way that they did that. It's kind of, it looks a little blocky, but
there you go. Dun dun dun. All right, so.
But I'll be interested to see how heavy that thing is.
You know, it's 67 days away.
Till he's gone, I know. Oh no, that's SHOT Show. Oops.
But also, yes, Ross, that is inauguration will happen during SHOT Show. That's why I had that tab there to remind everybody, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
All right, let's close that one down and finish up talking about a couple things. Raven 23. What is it? It's a incredible story about a bunch of guys that were doing their job that they were hired to do in a very shitty place on earth, and due to circumstance, there's a bunch of guys behind bars that shouldn't be there. Go learn about the story. Go support it as you can. buy a hat, buy a sticker. There are kids that are at home whose daddies are locked up in jail and should not be. They should be revered heroes. And I think that we need to support that. So please get behind that. We've talked about it many times before. And I proudly have a sticker on my car so that it raises some awareness in the car lines as I'm sitting there driving through car lines in my world. Speaking of the military, happy birthday to the Marines and everybody that's been a part of the Marine Corps. 241 years is nothing to sneeze at. Happy birthday to all my friends that are Marines. I know it's a big deal to you guys. So celebrate and have a great time. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, where we honor all the veterans. This is not a celebration day, I don't believe. I believe this is, like Memorial Day, same thing kind of thing.
It's a respect thing.
Yeah, so much so. So thank you to all the vets. Thank you to all my friends that are vets in all the different services and all the different things that you've been a part of. I respect you guys more than you know for signing off on that paper, raising your hand, taking that pledge, and doing what you've done. Thank you very much. The other number I wanted to point out, Ross, because we talked about this a few shows back, and I think it's something that over the years, as we continue to do this, I think it's something that I'm going to look to include in the Inspire series, but also as part of Gun News Weekly. There are 620,000 vets still in America from World War II. Many of them homeless. But that's it. That's all that's left on the planet. We need to get the stories from these people. We need to tell their stories. We need to be able to remember them. They made incredible sacrifices in World War II. And the fact that there's some of them here to still talk to, I think we should make every effort, to appreciate them, but also to tell their stories when it makes sense so that they can inspire other people. All right.
Yeah, maybe just thinking about that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Find those guys and talk to those guys before nobody can talk to them anymore.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and again, same thing with some of the vets from the recent wars. These are people that, you got to get these stories in. It's not like everybody lives forever.
No, and think about what they did. You know what I mean? They put themselves in the line of fire for the ideals that we uphold. You know what I mean? That's a hell of a sacrifice, and we owe a great debt of gratitude to those guys.
Yep.
Every single one of them knew the guys that are fighting today and the guys that fought 70 years ago.
Correct. Appreciate it. Winding up the show tonight, talking real quick about the format of the show and why and what. Ross, I was with Allie doing the shooting and kind of thinking about what's next for the channel that I have on YouTube, the Gun News Weekly stuff, Inspire, working with friends, doing different things. What's up? What's next? All that kind of stuff. The format of this show, I think for the rest of this year, you can count on kind of you and I doing this back and forth thing. I know that after SHOT Show, we're going to have a lot more opportunity to have some great guests. I'd rather have great guests than always just push to have a guest. I think, again, looking back to why I did this in the first place, it was about family and making sure that our kids were responsible and safe. And I know that you practice and preach a lot of the same values that I do when it comes to the kids. So just throwing it out there. We like doing Tech Time. We like talking about gear. We like talking about those stories. We like talking about the videos as they come. Obviously, a week like this throws everything off because you got a half-hour conversation on the political world and how it translates into what we do. There is a huge relief in the gun world, I guess you could say, Ross. I think it's kind of clear to everybody that the notion that they could come for you, that they could put some of those crazy laws into place nationally, wipe stuff out. All of a sudden ARs and AKs are unavailable or not allowed to be bought, all those types of things. I think there's a big relief that that's not the case.
Absolutely. There's no fear at this point of, well, there is right now, but there won't be any fear of executive orders coming down on a whim that take your right to buy AK parts away. You know what I mean? Just out of the blue. That's not going to happen to people. And of course, that's going to hurt the industry, I think, because people you won't have this huge drive to the gun store. But overall, it'll be one less thing that we got to watch our six about.
Well, and hopefully we can do well enough doing the stuff that we do to continue doing this show every Thursday night, continue to do the travel that we do, the videos that we do. And again, the collaborative stuff we can do with people and Inspire, all that fun stuff. Thanks to Frank and everybody that's making this possible every single week. And thanks for supporting us with those websites. EverydayCarryLife.com, TacDaddy.com. And again, all the social media stuff. If you want to have any input on this show and what we do here, please, we want to know. Send us an email, shoot us a message. Hey, I like this, I hate this, you suck, whatever it may be. Schwell. Yeah, Rashad. He's the only one that I already know what he thinks. And there you go. Enjoy UFC 205, the UFC in New York City this week, Ross, for the first time. I don't know if you know about that, but that's a big deal. It'll be a ton of huge fights, and I'm very interested in checking that out. And some of the people we're going to be working with over at AT&T and some of the other local gyms down here that are also gun folks will be coming. Some of that content will be coming very soon as well. So shout out to the UFC and shout out to the guys on the card. I know the Tim Kennedy fight got canceled. That kind of sucks. We wanted to see what he could do. But regardless, there's a bunch of other great fights. Enjoy the weekend. Be safe. If you're going to I'm not even going to talk to the protesters, Ross. Ross, have a great weekend.
Yeah, man. Hang on tight. It's going to be it usually lasts 3, 4, 5 days of protests, and then they'll get tired and go to sleep, and it won't happen again until, I don't know, he gets into office, and then they'll wake up and do it again for 5 days. And
I think you'll see some solid hippie action outside of his main residence in New York.
What I find most ironic is by the end of this, they'll probably have burned down all of their own cities.
I forgot to do anything related to tech time, so let me just kind of do it. Shout out to HTC, High Threat Concealment Holsters. This is my head down Glock. Ross, I changed up the waffle pattern and added just a real light, tiny stipple to it.
Love it.
Real clean.
Makes it easier to carry, doesn't it?
The lines are good. It's again, I liked the waffle, but I didn't love it. And now I do. I've always loved the gun, but I always thought that, you know what, someday I'm gonna do that. And the process of melting it down and then getting the dots, very difficult. You had to be very patient. It took a while. I don't know how many hours total, but some good time listening to podcasts and that kind of stuff on the workbench with the garage door open and enjoying the cooler air.
Garage door open. That's good.
There you go. All right, everybody have a great week. Again, we'll see you next week. Ross, appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, thanks for everything you do, brother.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. Peace. Later over on Gun News.